What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Lambo View. For today's video, we're going to be going over the surest path to get a Lamborghini. If this is your first time tuning into Lambo View, my name is D and I teach you how to get a Lamborghini or answer your Lamborghini questions that you may have. What's it like to own one? How much does it cost to afford it? So one of the questions I get a lot is probably, what is the number one way or the surest way to get into a Lamborghini? And quite honestly, it's 3 different steps, and we're going to be going over those 3 steps in this video. Even if you are not planning on getting a Lamborghini, just doing these 3 steps will honestly set you up for life. I'm going to teach you exactly what you need to do to get a Lamborghini. No, you do not have to make $500,000. This is going to be something you could probably even do with less than $100,000, or even probably around $100,000, give or take. With the rambling on, let's go ahead and get into those 3 different steps. So number 1 is going to be your high income skill or your unfair advantage in life. So I strongly believe that a lot of people who are out there, they are gifted as something that just quite literally will make them have an unfair advantage in life. For me, it was YouTube and DJing. So those 2, you could say, were my high income skills, or my skills in general, in order for me to build my income and then go on. Eventually, those were my starting points to get into a Lamborghini. So those may or may not be your necessary skills. Again, everybody's different, but that's what worked for me. But in general, your number 1 thing that you should focus on is trying to get a high income skill. That high income skill can be anything that you may want it to be. Yes, you can still get a Lamborghini if you work a 9 to 5. It's easier if you do business, but there is still this way that you could do it. So what you want to do is get to a point where, say, you can make at least $80,000 to $100,000. I would highly recommend that you get to a point where you can make at least that much. 80 grand to 100 grand as a bare minimum. Of course, it helps you if you can make more than that. But once you get to that point, that is going to be a huge step. And even if you get to that point, you're probably already going to be in a good path or good direction in life to get to whatever you kind of want, because that is probably the hardest step. But if you can get to that point, then you can go ahead and move on to step number 2, which is going to be another hard one, but I honestly think that this is kind of easy depending on your mentality. And number 2 is going to be saving, or basically not spending, 40 to 50% of your income. Now, a lot of people are going to say that that's hard to do, but quite honestly, anybody could do it. I did it, and the way that I did it was the car that I drove before this was a Honda Civic. The step number 2 is also going to be really hard, but again, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to get to this point. All you really need is discipline, and that is quite honestly what this whole video is going to be about, is just having your discipline, which is going to be leading you to crazy amounts of achievements in life if you can master this. So yes, step number 2, I would recommend saving 40 to 50% of your income. And then once you get to that point, which is a really hard point to get to, but the way you do this is you do not inflate your lifestyle. I could have got a Porsche rather than a Honda Civic if it were me at that time. So I purposely drove a beat up Honda Civic, which I still have, no hate. It is my stealthy daily driver, you could say. But driving a Honda Civic allowed me to get this car because it allowed me to save 40 to 50% of my income. Not only that, but yes, you do not want to inflate your lifestyle. Again, if you want a Lamborghini, you're going to have to get zeroed in on wanting a Lamborghini. You can't want a Lamborghini and a Porsche at the same time. You could, but it's going to take you longer. So this whole path is just you getting into a Lamborghini. And then once you master your discipline, once you can save 40% to 50%, again, so many people are going to question, how the hell do I do this? You can do it. If you're struggling to get to that point, you should be asking yourself, what car are you driving right now? Are you driving a mid-tier car? Because you shouldn't be driving a mid-tier car if you're trying to get into this quickest way possible. The 4 cars you should be driving, again, if you're trying to maximize your savings, is going to be either a Toyota Corolla, Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, or a Honda Civic. So pick one of those 4 and then just drive it to the ground. That will allow you to free up your income or your savings rate, which is a huge thing. Remember, the savings rate, 40 to 50%. And then you're going to take that 40 to 50% and then you're going to invest it. And then I'm going to tell you exactly where you should invest it. Again, disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor for any of this or anything on the channel, but it's just my personal opinion. So take it with a grain of salt. What I would do once I save that 40 to 50% is going to be to invest it into the S&P 500. So once you get to this third step, even if you don't want a Lamborghini, you're going to be in an extremely good shape in life because you're going to be able to achieve and buy whatever you want. So you want to invest, or what I would do is I would invest that 40 to 50% into the S&P 500. If you do not know what the S&P 500 is, you should definitely stay tuned with the channel because I'll be going over all this stuff. S&P 500 is the United States' top 500 companies. If you put money into it, it is a fund that will spit money back out to you and then build your net worth by roughly, let's just say 10% a year. Now, if you're in your 20s watching this, you should definitely do this because you in your 20s have a tremendous amount of leverage because you have time on your hands, and the more time you're inside, your money is parked into the S&P 500, the easier it will be to grow your money because again, you have time on your hand, and each year that goes by, whatever money you have in there is going to grow by 10% a year, and it's going to start to compound effect to the point where you can get this guy. If you're in your 30s, you still got plenty of time on your hands. I'm in my 30s. I got this car just a year ago. I'm 35. I could do it. You could do it too. I flunked out of college 10 years in a row, and now I'm here. So there's something that I know that you don't know. So these are the three things that you should kind of look into. If you're not sure where to start on the S&P, if you're not sure where to start on how to invest your money into the S&P 500, go onto YouTube, get YouTube Premium if you have to, and then figure it out. Because there are so many different ways that you can do this. You can open up an account in Robinhood. You can open up an account in Charles Schwab. Those are the two that I would recommend that you start off at. And then just park your 40 to 50% of savings into that year after year. Automate the whole thing. What I did was I set my goal of saving 40 to 50% a year. And then I would automatically take whatever that amount was and weekly take it from my checkings account and then put it into my investment account. And then I would do that for years and years and years. It obviously didn't take me that long because I made my money in other ways, and you can too. But if I were to go back in time, if I was just a normal Joe, this is going to be literally the best thing you could probably learn to do in your entire life if you are somebody who's trying to get rich, to get into a Lamborghini, to achieve financial freedom. This is the easiest 3 steps you could do. Granted, not easy, but the most simplest, surest way that you could do it is going to be with these 3 steps. And that's, again, just my opinion. I'm not a financial guy, financial expert, so take it with a grain of salt. Once your money is in the S&P 500, just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. It sounds easy, and to a point it kind of is, but mistake that people make, the mistake that they don't, the skill that they don't have is actually patience. So at times you gotta be patient, you gotta be aggressive. When you're trying to build your income, you want to be super aggressive. You want to build that income. You want to make 100K a year, 200K a year, whatever you can do. And then the opposite part is going to be your shield or your defense, which is going to be to save that cash. And then once you save that cash, you're able to park that cash into a garage, and this garage is going to be called the S&P 500, which again is the top 500 companies in the United States. And you're basically letting them borrow your money, and then once their company grows, they give you back profit or a percentage back, which on average is about 10% a year. And if you honestly want to see what that looks like, download a compound calculator from the App Store. You can download whichever one. You just need 4 categories within that compound calculator. The first box is going to be how much money you currently have saved up. Your second box is how much money you can save a year or every month. Your third box is going to be your percentage, which is going to be your percentage return, which is going to be the S&P 500, which we could just say is around 10% a year. And then your fourth box is going to be your time or years that you're going to be staying invested. Play around with that. That would probably be the first thing that I would do if I were you. Go to the App Store, download a compound calculator, and then put in the amount. Say, for example, you're starting from 0, but you want to invest 40 to 50% of your income, which is going to be about, let's just say, if you're making an 80K a year, I'm just going to say probably $2,000 a month, which is a lot. But again, you're somebody who's going to be disciplined from now on. And then once you do that, put in 10 years, and then for the percentage part, the S&P 500, again, 10% a year, and then just watch how much money that account is going to generate up to in a 10-year span. And then also plug it in for 20 years and see how much even more crazier that amount is going to be. If you can do this at an early age, you can still do it if you're 40 or whatever too. It's going to take more time, but you can still do it. If you can do this, not only will you have a Lamborghini, but you will also get a extremely good amount of discipline that you're going to pick up along the way. And Lamborghini aside, these 3 steps are going to be something that you can do to honestly get whatever the hell you want, whether it's a big house, a crazy car, financial freedom, whatever that may be. So yeah, just to keep on repeating myself, if I was an average Joe, this is what I would do. If you want to take things up to the next level, you definitely can. You can start your own business. S&P 500 is good for somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing. That's what I would do. But I would put my mental energy into just generating a high income, just so you can get to the Lamborghini goal faster. If you do these 3 steps, you're definitely going to get a Lamborghini, but again, it might take you longer, which is completely fine. The whole purpose of this video is to figure out the surest way, not necessarily the fastest way. Yes, there are faster ways you can do it, but I would start from here, because if you can master this step, you're going to be mastering a whole lot more other things in life aside from just getting a car. So yes, to review, 3 steps: get a high income skill, make at least 80 to 100K a year, watch YouTube videos on how to be able to do that, put yourself into a position or a job that can get you to that point. Once you're making that money, save 40 to 50%. Again, not easy to do at all, but what you do need to do is drive a shittier car like I did to help you get to a point where you can save a crazy amount, which is that 40 to 50% a year, which again is probably like 40, 50 grand, depending on what you're making, which is a lot. I can 100% agree. But if you can control 3 things for the savings part: where you live in a crappier spot if you have to, or just a safe spot enough to just put your head down at night. And then number 2, drive one of those 4 cars that I have mentioned, Toyota or a Honda, because then not only are you saving off of monthly payments, you're also saving on other things like tires and brakes and all that shit. My 22 Honda Civic that I had, I've only had to change the tire once after 80,000 miles. So that just saves more money in my pocket and allows me to invest more, which allows me to get to my Lamborghini more, which is actually what I did. So number 2, save 40 to 50% of your income, cut costs on other things in life, stop going out drinking, tighten up your friend circle if you have to other people who are also on the same path to seeing success in life. Step number 3, go watch YouTube videos on how to invest into the S&P 500. Again, what I would recommend doing is you open up an account in either Charles Schwab or Robinhood, start from there, and then don't go crazy trying to buy all these crazy single stocks. You don't really need to do that at all. Start at the S&P 500, put your money in there, watch it grow, and then you'll start seeing that after the 5-year mark, you're going to start seeing your cash grow and grow and grow. And then each year after that, it's just going to start growing by 20 grand, by 30 grand, by 100 grand, so on and so forth. And then you'll have even more than you could ever imagine. And then you can also get a Lamborghini just like I did. And not just a Lamborghini to itself, but if you can master these 3 steps, you'll be well on your way to just being free in life. If you all had any questions, write it down below. If you had a topic that I should cover, feel free to write that down below. Subscribe to the channel. I bought my Lamborghini 3 months ago, and I'll be putting up videos non-stop every single week. And so subscribe, and I will see you all for the next one.